And so, given that it is the environment card for the year, I think AI is really going to take off, but do some really beneficial things for people.
So, real quick, just giving people some hope. What are some things people can do to prepare influence card in your leisure?
What I see that's interesting. So, the chaos is going to cause a lot of discontent. It's going to catch up. The energies of what he's putting into place in disrupting the stock market, as well as the tariffs, all that is really going to start to show an impact.
The partners, he was saying, he was like, I'm done knowing not knowing, but he's like, I don't need the 1 year predictions. Like, I need the 10-year predictions. And in my head, I was like, why hasn't he gone to astrology yet?
Yeah, it does tend to line up.
The money is going to move from the stock exchange to some other money group.
A lot of that money is going to move to him and his family in the spring of 2026. And there's going to be work problems. People are going to be restless. There's the underlying card in that same energy of the Jack of Spades. So people are going to feel ripped off.
The information provided in this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or other professional advice. All opinions expressed are those of the host and our guests and are purely speculative in nature. You should not rely on any information contained in this podcast to make financial decisions. Always consult with a qualified financial advisor or other professional regarding your specific situation. The host and guests disclaim all liability for any actions taken based on the content of this podcast.
Been trading and at the time didn't even know about the astrology or cardology predictions just through observation alone. In April, it was very obvious. I was like, oh, he's manipulating the market. Like he, with the whole, and it's crazy because he's an expert in economics. Okay. Maybe not the best expert, but he's been doing this for decades. So he knows how his decisions will affect the market. And it's like, it's really crazy. I mean, everyone's calling him like a crook or whatever, but I'm just like, I have to like give it to him. It's kind of genius. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just like, like he was like, I'm gonna put myself in power and then I'm gonna be the one, because that's all that he's doing really. All of these bills, all the things that he's saying, it's just to manipulate the market, because he's basically communicating with the other economic influencers like in the world. Hey, I'm in the driver's seat.
Right.
You have no power. And we saw this when he did the whole Independence Day. I'm sorry, it's just like it's such a show, but he did this, right? He showed everybody, I'm the one who's in the driver's seat, and you guys have no control over this. It was so obvious. So like, just to put into context for the audience, it's like, so we've already seen it. He's just gonna keep on doing that even more. So you have like the mini crash that we've already experienced. And then in the fall, it's going to be super volatile. But it's always volatile in the fall because it's close to the end of the year. So this is always a super up and down market. It's great for day trading. I love it. But yeah, it's going to be super volatile. And you're saying it might even be even more crazy than past years.
I really do think so. I think there'll be an initial volatility in September. There's also 2 really significant eclipses that are going to be happening along the Pisces Virgo cycle. One is going to be September 7th, a lunar eclipse, and then a solar eclipse on the 21st. So that's going to be the activations of that energy. And then I think it's going to unfold where there's going to be even more volatility. There's definitely going to be upheaval. There are other times when this same aspect had influence on us. Another year where these same aspects were in place was 1961. And so it was less of like financial upheaval, but it was the civil rights disruptions at that time. And so it can be big things, either financial, political, or cultural. So I'm not exactly sure what it will be, but I suspect, given looking at the cardology spreads, that it's going to be really financial. And then those effects are going to precipitate some effects on people's lives because, for example, I see that people are going to lose a lot.
Yeah.
As an example, if that big beautiful bill takes away Medicaid for people, that's going to put over 10 million people out of like health insurance. And so in looking at the United States spreads,
you've gone to the retreats, sat in ceremonies, even worked with healers, and now you've been told that it's your turn to do the work. Well, this is that next step. I'm so excited to share with y'all that this year we have our first Transformation to Expansion event on September 9th, 2025, where we will be in ceremony together, releasing all the things that are blocking us from truly transforming into the new version of ourselves. So you can really go into 2026 as the new you and stop holding back. This is going to be a really powerful activation, y'all. I really don't want y'all to miss it. If you're one of the first 15 people to sign up, your ticket is completely free. So make sure to check the link in the description below for the link to the ticket for this event. I cannot wait to see y'all there. I love y'all so much.
What I see that's interesting is that the United States has, in the very beginning of 2026, in Uranus, a 5 of club and a 7 of spade. So again, Uranus being the big thing going on where there's chaos with the chaos leader. The 5 of club is the energy of discontent. So the chaos is going to cause a lot of discontent. And then the 7 of spade is the health and work problem card. So it's going to catch up. The energies of what he's putting into place in disrupting the stock market, as well as the tariffs, all that is really going to start to show an impact in the spring of 2026. And there's going to be work problems. People are going to be restless. There's the underlying card in that same energy of the Jack of Spades. So people are going to feel ripped off. And then moving further into the year, the United States also has an Ace of Spade Pluto card, just like that transformation, death, rebirth, just like the New York Stock Exchange. So there's going to be a huge transformation, I think, which will lead to a lot of, like, I think we'll go through at a possible recession, possibly even a depression. So that kind of energies. The United States also has a 9 of spade as its displaced card. The displaced energy is like what, kind of like what shoes that you're walking through that year, what energy you're walking into. And it's the 9 of spade. It means it's the death card. So again, just 2 really significant cards that indicate death and rebirth. So, and I know this is all kind of like doom and gloom, but there's going to be a lot more turmoil, I think, with those card energies in 2026. I also see some good stuff. I see is the United States has a King of Club as its environment card. The environment card is your blessing. So of course we want some good news. Like, what's the good stuff that's going to come out, right? And the King of Club energy is the energy of mastering communication, authority and communication. So you're that Queen of Club. So you serve through communication, but the King is the authority. It's also an energy of complex systems. So it's the card energy of AI. And so given that it is the environment card for the year, I think AI is really going to take off, but do some really beneficial things for people. So that's some good news, at least I have to share. So there's that. It's also good to look at, like, what's the reward cards too, because even though there's a challenge, if we all work through that challenge, being that, as I mentioned, for the United States, being that Ace of Spade, lots of transformation. There's a reward attached to it if we can work through it. And that card gives me hope. And that card is the 2 of Diamond. And the 2 of Diamond is this card energy of unity and values, of like coming together and like sharing similar values. And I think most people would agree that we have been a very divided nation for a long, long time. And I think part of the transformation that will unfold is that will actually start to shift. That people who were not in unity of values before would start coming together. Um, and I think sadly it happens because of the challenges that we will all face together. The United States also has a Queen of Heart as its long range card, as its main energy next year, which is the card of compassion, the card of helping each other out. And I think Americans are really well known for that. When things get really bad, we do like resort back to the care for each other in community. So I think that will be part of the evolution too, that will move into making some changes. I talk about in my book the fact that when change is going to happen, things have to blow up. Things have to be like destructed before there can be reconstructed. So my hope is that will lead, the tough stuff will lead to some good things coming out.
Real quick, you talked about like the change of hands. Is there anything in the cardology that can give you an indication on what exactly is the meaning of that? Like change of hands with who? Like is money gonna move from because in my mind, I'm interpreting it as the money is gonna move from the stock exchange to some other money group.
So several things could happen. So one thing we know for sure, looking at Donald Trump's cards, a lot of that money is going to move to him and his family. The family card is also in Jupiter for him with the money card with it. So his family is going to make a lot of money from the manipulation. And he has people that are planning this with him. And I think those people will also benefit from, there's been a lot in the news of like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who made big, huge stock market moves, right? The week in April when all that happened. She made a lot of money the first time there was this little dip in the market. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's a big Trump supporter.
But it's important to watch those people and watch what they do.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. And so one of the things Cardology can do is not only can I see like in my chart here these yearly spreads, but my software actually lets me look at 7-week spreads and weekly spreads of energy. Wow. I have a client in Australia that I work with, and I give him printouts of the weekly spreads because he's a day trader. And he times his trades based on the card energies that are going on.
Oh my God. Okay. At some point you need to make I want in because it makes it so much more like, I mean, I usually like, this is like, a lot of traders don't do this. This is not financial advice. But I will sometimes use my intuition, like, and yeah, it's so far so good. That's so far so good. But you have to really tune into your intuition. I wouldn't say everybody could do that, but yeah.
Well, right, but that's part of your gift, having that Queen of Club as your second card, is you can use your intuition for career, for work, for making money. So that's definitely a gift that you have, but not everybody has that gift. There can also be transfer of money like in crypto.
Yeah, that's I don't want to say it, but I was like, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. So depending on, the volatility, and then people start getting scared and then moving their money into a different place or a different format, that they no longer have faith in the system. And so they move it into a different system. So that's also something that could happen. Yeah. It does tend to line up. Like I said, Cardology is a combination of numerology and astrology. So there is definitely overlap that I see.
Mm-hmm.
The week that of, I think it was April, I'm trying to think here, April 2nd and 3rd, that was the week that the New York Stock Exchange dipped because of Trump's tariff announcement. When I looked at the New York Stock Exchange weekly spread that week, there was a 9 of diamond in Pluto that week. That's a loss of money as its challenge card. So that's pretty spot on, right?
I'm just trying to interpret it because, well, 9 is like an ending, diamond is money, and then Pluto is like a death or a rebirth. So how did you interpret it as a death? Just curious.
Well, 9s are also a loss, some type of a loss. So it's a money loss. So when I see a 9 of diamond, and again, it depends on the placement, but it can mean like a loss of a job. It can be a literal loss of money, like you get your tax bill and you have to pay more that year and you weren't expecting it. But it's an energy in Pluto, which means it's very transformational. It has like a bigger impact on a person. So losing money is how I look at that, as being really transformative, because it did create a lot of change. The VIX index went up. I mean, it caused a lot of transformation, and it did shift money at that time.
Hey y'all, did your vibration get a serious boost from this week's podcast? I know mine did. And I'm willing to bet there's a whole community that also feels the same way. Wait, actually, there is a whole community. That's right. On Facebook, we now have the Transformation to Expansion community, where we actually have weekly discussions about the podcast episodes, and we even try out the freebies all together as a community to help us stay accountable. So definitely go ahead and check that out. The link is in the description below, and I'll see y'all there. Peace. Yeah, because I'm just curious about the when I'm in crypto. Sorry, I said crypto. I meant Bitcoin, because that's the one thing too. This is like, so yeah, because like a couple years ago I was introduced to like cryptocurrency because I was traveling, and then literally I was just at this hostel where everybody was a crypto bro. Like I was just like, so I was like, okay, let me just have these conversations. And I swear to you, the first like 3 or 4 times they explained to me what it was, I had no clue. I didn't understand. I was like, that makes no sense in my mind. But I just kept on asking. And so, but then by the 5th time I was like, okay, I sort of understand it now. But like even deeper into my journey, I remember I was trying to get something, and I had like my crypto in oh my God, what's it called? It was like some other coin. It wasn't Bitcoin. But anyway, so when I was like talking to the person on the other side, I was like, yeah, hey, I only have like this crypto. I don't have Bitcoin. And he was like, and he called it, I guess because I don't want to cuss on here, but he called it poop coin. He's like, all of the other coins are poop. Yeah. So I was like, oh, so really the only one that really matters is Bitcoin. And this is according to somebody who, has been in it for years. And so for me, that was super eye-opening. I was like, oh, okay, so this is really, I mean, some people are really behind some other coins, and yeah, they could be a little, they could go, but I know that, going back to the astrology, there's predictions for Bitcoin no other coin has. No other coin has. And I'm talking like exponential like predictions. So anyway, my point is, I guess I mostly meant Bitcoin when I was talking about crypto. Have you looked into the chart for Bitcoin specifically?
I have not, and I just wrote it down that I definitely need to do that.
Me too. It's crazy.
Yeah,
the astrology predictions are crazy.
Right.
I don't know.
I will definitely do that because, in fact, do you know who Robert Kiyosaki is? He's a friend of Trump's, but he's also the man that wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he's been saying for the past year to move all your money out of the stock market because he's predicting a crash. So he's got a lot in real estate, but he's moving money into like gold and silver and also crypto, specifically Bitcoin. So it's kind of like you wonder, like, what do they know that we don't know?
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious in my opinion. The past couple of years, there's been a huge push from billionaires, millionaires to get as many people as possible to invest in the stock market. Huge push, abnormally so. And, you know, 10 years ago, they didn't care for us to be in the stock market. So, for me personally, I'm very observant. So this is I know not everybody sees it like this, but for me personally, it just makes you think, why do they want our money now when they didn't need it then? So it's just one of those things. I think there is going to be a crash. I think it will bounce back, because there's certain, whenever you have a system, you said what, 1792 or something like that. Whenever there's a system that's been around for a long time, it's not going anywhere. So, I think if anything, if you do have money well, actually, I shouldn't say, again, this is not financial advice. But if anything, I think there is going to be, it's not going to go away, right? People have to understand that these people who do manipulate or own, we'll put that in quotes, these markets, they're not just going to give up, these systems too that are put in place. They're put in place for a reason. It's not just going to crumble, after going through so many crashes already, right? So it's like there's, there are some realities to it where I'm like, okay, yeah, like, but there is gonna be, I think they're trying to cushion the crash right now, trying to get other people invested. But if you hear of people like that, like Robert, who, and I've heard that too. Gold is pretty not stable, but it's I've been told that it can be a safe investment. And it's true because gold's been around for thousands of years. It's always been of really high value. So for me, that makes sense.
Do you remember I showed you that spreadsheet that I made that had all this information in it about Trump and President Xi and the stock market and the Dow and all that? So that client had texted me earlier this week because, things have come back since April. And my response is just like how you responded. I said, well, you got to feed the pig before you slaughter it.
Yeah. Yep. I feel like that's what's happening. Like, not to be negative, but serious, because I don't know how to, I really can't explain it. Like, people be asking, like, how do you know this? And I'm like, I can give you the context around it, but, at the end of the day, these aren't super trustworthy people. Like, if we're really looking at it, a lot of these people with all this money, like, they're not, I'm not saying everybody, there's always going to be a few exceptions.
Sure.
But just historically, again, we're going to have the change of hands, right? I believe in that. But historically, these people have not necessarily been like, we're going to do this for the greater good.
Right.
So I just have to put something in perspective.
Speaking of history, there's a famous quote from someone in history. And this gentleman said, millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do.
Yeah.
And the person who is associated with that quote is JP Morgan, the famous investment banker. So, when you look at people like Warren Buffett, they visit astrologers.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because I was watching. Yeah, I watched. Should I say this? Yeah, we can say. I watched. There's a group of men. Yeah, black men. They have a small influence called Earn Your Leisure, but really big. They have a really really good system. But anyway, I remember one of the videos I was watching. I don't even know what the guy's name is, but one of the partners, he was saying, he was like, he was like, I'm done knowing not knowing, but he's like, I don't need the 1 year predictions. He's like, I need the 10-year predictions. And in my head, I was like, why hasn't he gone to astrology yet? Like, in my head, I was like, because even with astrology, astrology can't, depending on the person, but usually it can't give you the specifics, but it can give you a general idea of, hey, this is where a crash will most likely happen. This is where the economy is going to come back up again. And anyway, in that moment, I was like, why is this an issue? Like, and me personally, I would just go straight to an astrologer or a numerologist, like, to me, that makes the most sense. but sometimes I think people in economics, in the stock market, in finance, they tend to be very, they think that they're very logical, very science like based and all of that. But really, I think I talked to somebody else about this. I have, in my opinion, I think they really do tap in the good ones tap into their intuition a lot of the time.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so I think there's a very spiritual aspect to finance that some people admit to, some people don't. You know, it's like, it's okay.
Yeah. I would say like Jim Cramer is one of those people. He has that Jim Cramer. He has a show on CNBC, and he has that kind of intuitive insight. It's just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm sure there's probably something. I don't know his card off the top of my head, but I bet it's a significant card. But I see him as one of those people, and also Warren Buffett as well. And Warren Buffett is he's the millionaire's card. That's his
Which is what, is seven of diamonds or?
seven of diamonds. Yeah, he's and sevens can channel. Sevens, it's a spiritual number, so they can tap into channeling information.
So, have you ever felt like you're meant for more? You're here for a reason. Something inside of you knows that there's more. There's more purpose, there's more connection, there's more fulfillment, there's more love to be enjoyed in this life. What if all of that was here right now? Your life easier to navigate, your dreams easier to manifest. You can live in a life of ease, even in these uncertain times with Pluto being in Aquarius. Your community of expansion is right here at your fingertips. From the moment you enter, you feel the sense of release and comfort. No more wondering if all those downloads you got as a kid were just random thoughts. No more wondering that time you had telepathy, thinking that it was just a fluke. Be with the people you know are here for you. Join our ever-expanding community on Patreon for free. And for those of you who ask, yes, the Wellness Library is included. I love y'all so much. Let's get back to the show. Peace.
Yeah, but it's interesting. That's one thing I did learn though from the stock market, or my education of the stock market, is that the richest people, it wasn't about like big moves. It was about little moves over the longest amount of time. That's who ends up being the richest at the end. It's about doing it for the longest amount of time, which is crazy.
Right.
So real quick, I just want to go back to Bitcoin. So if the stock market crashes, because even in 2020 we had a crash and everything crashed. It was the stock market, crypto crashed also. Do you think that's going to happen again, or do you think it's not going to affect crypto at all?
I think I would have to look at the crypto cards. So I would really want to look at that. I just know that money will change hands. So I am predicting people have to do something with the money. So what are they going to move it into? But I definitely made a note to look at Bitcoin and crypto to see if that is one of the places that the money will move into.
Yeah, I would think so.
I would think so too. I mean, it does make sense.
But yeah. So real quick, just giving people some hope. What are some things people can do to prepare for for what's coming? What do you think are going to be just some ways people can prepare for that?
Well, I think they just need to, sadly, just kind of wait it out. I think that this is just, I think the best way to prepare too is to stay like in the know. So understand what's going on, but not to be watching the news 24/7 and getting fixated on all of the negative news. I think that is going to be important for people to prepare in order to have like self-care around that. And that even though there will be a lot of turmoil, a lot of change going on, that ultimately it is like what I said in how the United States is supposed to evolve, transform, and be really ultimately more equitable for people in the long run. That's what it's all about. In fact, I have this book. There's an author who's a Native American woman, wrote a book called Sacred Instructions. Her name is Sherry Mitchell. And she said everything that we're going through right now, all of this like horrible stuff that we're going through, has been prophesized across her tribe. And this is like, I have to read my favorite quote from her because I think it captures it really well. She said, "We're living in a time of exposure where the light of truth is shining into all the dark corners of our lives. As a result, all that has been lurking in the shadows is now coming into sharp focus. Some of the things that this light is revealing are deeply disturbing, some are downright terrifying. This is causing many people to feel lost and hopeless or completely overwhelmed by the amount of work that we are facing. But this represents a critical crossroads for humanity, a teetering point of choice that will determine the future." And that's what I think this is about, is just to wait it out, because we can build a new future that's better and is more equitable. That's why a lot of ugliness over the years has been exposed, like Black Lives Matter, as an example of that. And so the ugliness, the chaos has to come out, the institutions have to be blown up. That also is astrology, given that Pluto moved from Capricorn, conservative institutions, into Aquarius, which is more humanitarian energy. And that's part of America's evolution, but it's got to blow up. So just have faith, however you get faith in life, and know that this is part of a bigger process.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And is she Hopi? Is she referencing the Hopi prophecy?
Yes, she
yeah,
is.
yeah. Oh yeah, there's some crazy, not crazy, but yeah, yeah. We need to get ready.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say. Last question we have for all of our guests is, how do you see human beings evolving or expanding from here?
Great question. Well, I see lots of different things. I think you're probably aware of the telepathy tapes,
Yeah.
that podcast. I think that there are going to be new children that are going to be born, that are already being born, that are going to be a more highly evolved kind of being. And I think that we're going to be moving away from being more of a collectivist kind of a society or a culture versus individualistic, which is why I think America is going through such huge change, because we represent individualism, whereas other countries are more collectivists, like Japan, as an example, where they do things or act from a place of what's good for the broader public, whereas it's all in the United States, the me kind of mentality for a lot of people. So I think that that's something in our future that we're going to evolve into, being more collectivist thinking, making decisions based on what is good for humanity, for what's best for everybody, versus, information or access only for certain people, because that's what it has been for so long, that there's no such thing as equality right now, truly. But I think part of that evolution will shift that. I'm not going to say it's going to happen overnight. It's going to be, this is evolution. And just like evolution and geology takes like hundreds and thousands of years, this is something that's going to take a long time. But that's where I see us going, at least over the next like 120 years.
Thanks, Donna, so much for being on the show. And thank you for your wisdom and your guidance on letting us know what's going to happen in 2026, especially for the United States. Y'all, we need to prepare. We need to be aware and really just make sure to just be aware of what's going to happen and really use that to maybe better navigate plans for the future. But also, get in touch with Donna. Get your cardology. You can get your free cardology spread. The link is in the description below. And look at what's coming up. We talked about the diamonds cards a lot. Look to see if there's any diamonds in your chart. Connect with Donna to get a reading on what you are going to be expecting in 2026. Because even though this craziness is happening, it might be the exact opposite for you. You might be like Chang, and you might just become, multimillionaire. You don't know. You're right. You just need to look at your cards. So thank you so much, Donna, for being on the show today. I really appreciate your time. And
Thank you,
as
Luke.
always, y'all, as always, yeah, of course. Yeah, this was great. I love this conversation. I need to have you on again for sure. Um,
After things get crazy and then go, oh, well, look what happened. And
remember what Donna said last year? Y'all better pay attention for 2027. Well, I think 2020. Well, never mind. We're not going to get into 2027, 2028 because I have my own little things that have come to me about those years. But anyway, as always, y'all, I love y'all so much, and I'll see y'all next week. Peace.